What's up? Black men have to have emotional regulation to have good relationships. You are a black man trying to self improve and gain a grounded identity in being a black man. I have a deep dive guide from all the things of learning who to look up to in black history, becoming more financially literate, having a more calisthenics based workout, eating healthier, and also developing and learning how to come together with other black men on a daily basis to self improve and gain that grounded identity. It's important for me to internalize this and for you to internalize this. In the bio section of my YouTube channel, click on that link and internalize. Internalize being the strongest version of yourself, because at this point it's required for every black man to be the strongest version of themselves. And that guide I have is going to get us to that. So the link is in the bio section of my YouTube channel. Click on that. Now, when we start to get into why black men have to learn how to master their emotions and control their emotions, when you go into the arena of relationships, whether that be romantic, obviously, or even relationships with people, or networking with people, in a business way, in a relationship way, in a friendly way, you have to know how to uh control your emotions in a way where you can actively, like, really get the point of why you're having that conversation or why you are in that relationship with that person. I think there's a lot of times where we use our emotions, like, because I feel like a lot of times we use our emotions in ways where it just stimulates something and it doesn't really do anything productive, right? This is why when you regulate your emotions and you use your emotions appropriately in a time and in a timely manner, with precision, that's when we get to a place where when you're a black man and you want the right relationships in life, you don't just do it just because it feels good to be around this person, or because this person, you could, just because it's a girl that look good and you could, sleep with her and all this. You don't do it just because of those things. You get what I'm saying? Or you don't hang around this other guy just because y'all have a lot of fun together and y'all laugh a lot, right? Those are things that are emotionally pulling, that will get you in a place where you're not going to have good relationships, and it's going to eventually go into being a dysfunctional relationship. So when I say emotional regulation, black men, including me, we have to master how to regulate our emotions, not to turn off our emotions, not to neglect our emotions, because I think that a lot of us think that's actually better for some reason. A lot of times we think when we just turn everything off when it comes to our emotions, that's better. No, never turn anything off. Never turn your emotions off. Always use them, and use them to utilize having a higher quality life and higher quality relationships, right? And that's one of the things that, if you're a black guy that grew up and you're kind of young, you've been around the internet a lot of this red pill masculine, type of culture, that manosphere type of culture will tell you, you got to be stoic, you got to turn off your emotions. It doesn't matter. No, I feel like we should all seek to learn how to use our emotions. I think that plays the black community as well. That uh we don't understand what's helping us from what's hurting us when it comes to being a man, and we have a false interpretation of what it means to be a man. And I'm not trying to dumb it down or make a man be weak or make a man do any of that, because I feel like the black man should be traditionally masculine, strong, and all these things. But I think when it comes to emotions, that's one of the areas we have to really uh put in a place where it's actually helping us. So don't turn off your emotions, right? Whenever it's time for you to be strong regardless of how you feel. But when it's time to have fun and laugh and have a good time, have that time. And then it's a time where you're sad and you might be vulnerable. And I think those are the more important times, where you are around other men who want to see you win, right? Who want to see you be somewhere in life. I don't recommend just showing your emotions to everybody. Show it to a group of men out there who want to see you win, and y'all have that brotherhood and that connection with each other. We have to learn how to utilize things. And I think a lot of times within the black community with black men, that's one of the things that we really don't know how to regulate, control, or utilize. And I think that when the black man understands that he has to regulate his emotions and utilize his emotions, not turn them off, that's when he can have better relationships with a woman, with other men, having that brotherhood and that connection. And when we look at, that relationship with women, you know, this is one of the big things where you shouldn't show all of your emotions, right? But you should know how to use them when it's appropriate and when it makes sense, right? And I think that that's the important thing to understand when I talk about like in a romantic sense, uh, so yeah, and when we just start to look at everything, man, usually when you have a black man who can't control his emotions, it comes from dysfunctional relationships, but it also comes from him like it's a emptiness inside of that black man, where he probably didn't feel loved at some point. He probably didn't feel heard at some point. That's why it's important to have those spaces where we can get stronger together as black men when we are maybe more vulnerable. And I don't like to like, these are one of the subjects that I think a lot of black men probably don't like to hear, because it does I'm not an advocate for it, but I would say that we have to have more protected spaces where black men can be vulnerable, and they won't be looked at in ways where they're thinking to themselves like they're weaker, right? But let me give you another way to look at that. I don't i don't say show that in front of everybody. I don't say do that in front of, if you got a girlfriend or a wife, don't do that in front of them. I wouldn't do that, and I think that makes sense. I wouldn't do it in front of people who are not gonna have a incentive to care. A lot of times when you may think a lot of women may care, you may think random people may care, they don't. That's why it's important to kind of, like, if you are gonna be vulnerable as a man, or if you do have something you're struggling with that that you want to talk about or something, or that you trying to get through in life, hang around other men who are also trying to get through stuff in life, and they're inclined and they're like-minded, so they can hear and listen to you, and they can help you, and y'all can help each other, right? And that needs to be in a protected space, in a organization, in a movement where y'all can do that. So I think that that's one of those things where we have to understand our emotions. That's one of the things, the black man, we just don't understand it. We don't understand it because of dysfunctionality and dysfunctional relationships. Because all we know is how to do something this way or that way, right? A lot of times when you get a man who knows how to control his emotions right way, and he has good emotional regulation, that's too boring for a lot of people, because they're not negative and not mean, and they're happy people, right? So they don't have to result in being mean, because a lot of times, one thing I noticed, bro, you have to be mean. A girl that got dysfunctional relationships, you have to be mean to her for her to like you. You get what I'm saying? You have to ignore her for her to like you. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Peace out.